have the pleasure of introducing to you Dr. Martin Rennhofer, our next speaker. Dr. Martin Rennhofer studied physics at the University of Vienna. Maybe you want to come up? He was a student of Mr. Pitschmann and graduated in aerosol physics in 1981. He joined IBM in 1976. He's a manager of Austrian Application Development Center, responsible for accounting and payroll software. He was elected member of the board of directors at IBM in 2002. And he's trained as an aura therapist, 2008. And I want to tell you shortly where I met him. I met him 1.5 years ago at a workshop called Advanced Ways of Steering Reality. And he gave the introduction to this very interesting workshop where it's about that we, with the power of our mind, create our reality. And he, as a physicist, gave the introduction. And this was amazing. And here he is. Very welcome, Martin.
Many thanks, Gabriel, for this kind introduction. So, there is no coincidence. And that's one of the points I will show you now, based on physics and theory. And as there is no coincidence, Dr. Liebermann already gave a very good introduction in the areas I'm going to present now. By the way, when I got married, my first trip afterwards with my wife was to Palau to look into the jellyfish lake there. There is no coincidence, you know? Okay, so honeymoon with jellyfish. Okay, we deep dive now into physics. And the first question is, what is the goal of physics? And I think I found someone to tell you this, and I'm not going to tell it myself. I'm going to let someone else tell you.
What do cosmologists worship then?
What we worship? One single unifying equation that explains everything in the universe.
Really?
Yes.
What's the equation?
That is the question. A very good question. I'm not quite sure yet. But I intend to find out.
Okay, what's the interesting point here is she's talking about religion, he's talking about physics. And when we talk about creation of reality, we have to look back how it was 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. In the past, religion created reality. Okay? If you decided not to comply with what religion told you to believe, it might be unhealthy for you. You know, your tongue has been thrown out, or your hand cut off, or even you got strangled because you told the people that the earth is not flat. At this time, religion said the earth is flat. And by the way, the earth is the center of the universe. Okay? So, about 150 years ago, physics took over. We said, okay, it's enough with the beliefs. Now there is science, and we can prove. We measure, we watch, we calculate, we prove. There is no need for beliefs anymore. Now we are in the scientific age. Okay? And within the scientific age, physics was always the science who was best in telling you what reality is. The other sciences like medicine or like economics over there, they all would like to achieve what we in physics already know. Huh? We have the formulas, we tell you, you don't have to believe, we can calculate, it's perfect. Okay? So what I'm telling you now is the real truth behind. When we say we have achieved our goal in physics, then it's very simple. There are 4 basic forces, or nowadays we don't say forces, we say there are quantum theoretic, there are quantum fields. Okay? And if you combine these 4 to the one singular equation, we are finished. That's it. 3 of them are very fine and we can combine them. These are the weak and the strong electric forces and the electromagnetism. But gravity is the problem. Yeah. We don't know why gravity exists. I mean, we feel gravity here, but we have no idea why. Okay? And also gravity is much weaker than the other forces, so it doesn't fit into our single combined formula. That's the problem. We are very glad to have this problem, so all the physicists have another 20, 50, 70 years to do, okay? And in this time they will still tell you how the world is working. By the way, when we talk about particles, and here you see some particles and you see elements, you might see that the atomic model has changed a little bit since you have heard about the atomic model in school. Okay? I'm not going to ask you now what you have learned, but if you remember, there was a core and there were some electrons circling around. It was the mechanic model by Niels Bohr, what we have learned at school. Nowadays, it's a little bit more complicated. There are some more elements, there are some more particles, and there is one particle I like best, and this is the gluon. Have you ever heard of the gluon? No. Yeah, some of you have, most of you have not. It should be considered more often. Gluon has a mass of 0, but it sticks together with other elements perfectly. So in German I would say, werfen Sie das Uhu weg, nehmen Sie ein Gluon dafür. Okay? So if you ever need a glue, just take a gluon. No mass, but very high force to keep things together. Okay. If we are talking about mass, we also have to talk about matter. And all what you see here on Earth consists in basically out of 4 basic elements. Yeah? These 4 fundamental elements which construct our reality here. Yeah? 2 quarks, the electron, and then there is an electron which has no charge, electron neutrino. Okay, strange thing, it's there. There are also 2 copies of these elements. You see on the left-hand side, these are the basic elements. Then in the middle, you see 2 rows of copies. These 2 rows of copies, we can experiment with them in the CERN, but they don't live very long. In fact, they don't even live for a second. Okay, we know they exist, but who knows why. Okay? And then on the right-hand upper side, you see the Higgs boson. Have you heard of this? Yeah? Yeah, there was a real money-intensive search for the Higgs boson. And finally, it was found. And this is the reason why I can present you this chart, because now we have proven that this model is the current theoretical model of all the things, of all the matter around us. We are very glad we found the Higgs boson. Okay, the Higgs boson is the reason for mass. It has very little mass, but it's the reason for mass. Okay, now when you attend school nowadays, instead of the Bohr's model, which is outdated, you will learn about this model. Now you have to remember, I would say, at least 16 expressions to know how the world is composed of. Okay? I will give you another 5 seconds to remind, and then I will switch on. So, fields. We know the electrical field, we know the electromagnetical field. We all experience gravity, and so the gravitational field. But there is another field, a field which was postulated by Rupert Sheldrake. It's the morphic field. And this field is different to the other ones in a way that this field is learning. Which means if you repeat actions in this field, the field will in a way store how often this reaction or this action has been repeated. And if you are within the field, you might experience that things will happen faster if the action has been repeated often. And as Dr. Lieberman pointed out, there are time frames between some things happening, and these time frames are shortening. This might be because of a morphic field. Okay? So, fields, quantum fields. Quantum field theory. Enough of this. Okay? What we have to talk about now is energy. Energy and mass. Einstein already predicted this famous formula, E is mc square. And we talked about this a lot of times. But now we really show in experiments that it's not only mass or matter being parted to smaller particles and this way setting free energy. We know this from atomic energy plants or something like this. Also, the opposite way is possible. We concentrate high levels of energy to one point, and there matter starts to exist. And particle emerges out of nothing. Yeah. Nowadays we can prove this. So this formula is completely correct, and it's correct in both ways. Yeah? In the CERN, this is the large, I would say, Hadron Collider, so it's a large engine or a large device to speed up small particles. And if you have sufficient energy concentrated on one point, a new particle might emerge out of nothing. So that's the creation process, as religion would put it. Okay? At first there was nothing, and then there matter appeared. Okay. So, when these particles are circulating in the CERN, they have a speed limit. In physics, there is a speed limit, a natural speed limit, and that's the speed of light. I mean, you all know this. Okay? And we will need this because for other experiments I will show you, it's very important to know the speed of light is the limit. Okay. Who can travel at the speed of light? Only particles which have no mass. As you already pointed out, the photon has no mass, so it can travel at the speed of light. Yeah? If a particle has mass, the speed limit is lower. Okay? So, now I told you, we know out of what the matter consists here on Earth, we know everything. Next time you meet a physicist and he's going to tell you the same, just ask him, out of the whole universe, how much of the universe can you describe with this model? And you only can describe this one, 5%. 5%. This is what we know a lot about. Not everything, but we know a lot about. We do not know anything about dark energy, except that dark energy is the reason why the universe is expanding, and it's constantly expanding. There is an energy level out in the universe. Yeah? Religion would say this is God, because it's everywhere. Okay? We, as a physicist, we say this is an energy level. We can measure this energy level. We have no idea where it comes from. It's there. Okay? That's the dark energy. And there are planets, and these planets are not on steady paths, like circular or elliptic paths, but they are tangling around. And the reason is that there is a mass somewhere, and this mass is interacting with this planet, but we don't see the mass. This mass does not emit anything. No light, no radiation, nothing. So we call it the dark matter. And you see, a quarter of the mass of the universe is dark matter. We don't know anything about it. Okay? So, what I'm going to tell you is that we know 5% of the universe, but still we tell you what reality is. Yeah, that's it. Okay? So be careful when talking to a physicist. Okay? By the way, next time you are told the expansion of the universe, what will happen, because it remains steady with a steady speed, yeah? In fact, nowadays it looks like the universe is expanding along these lines. It's not a straight line, and if you follow the line, you see here is the expansion, okay, expansion, but then down here is contraction, and the universe might come back exactly to the point where it started with the Big Bang. Okay? So this is the actual theory of the expansion of the universe. It's not so easy. It's not as easy as we thought 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Okay? When you start studying physics, they let you do 2 experiments. And they change your view. And one of them is this double slit experiment. So let me just show you a short clip about this.
This simple configuration shoots particles of light called photons, one at a time, through 2 tiny slits in a screen.
We have a laser which produces light. This light is attenuated such that only one photon at a time emerges. This photon passes through a 2-slit assembly, and then we have a camera which registers the pattern behind the 2-slit assembly. So what we see is that the photons arrive one by one on the screen, some here, some there, and it looks pretty random.
Since the photons travel one by one, some through this slit, some through that slit, you would expect them to leave a pattern of 2 stripes on the wall. And you would be wrong. They mysteriously create a band of stripes. This is what you would expect to see if a constant beam of light shined through the 2 slits. It would spread across the wall like a wave. So how can single bullet-like particles of light create a wave pattern? This could only happen if the particles go through both slits at the same time. In other words, the particle is in 2 places at once. But strangest of all is what happens when you put detectors next to the slits. When the photons are being watched, the wave pattern disappears. Take away the detectors and the wave pattern comes back. This suggests that we can change the way reality behaves just by looking at it. Does this mean that reality itself is not real?
The modern answer is that the path taken by the photon is not an element of reality. We are not allowed to talk about the photon passing through this or this slit. Neither are we allowed to say that the photons pass through both slits. All this kind of language is not applicable.
And what is even more interesting if you put the measuring device behind the two slits, so the photon cannot see that it is measured, it still knows it is measured, and it behaves like a quantum, not like a wave. Okay? So what the photon can do is it can look into the future and then go back and say, okay, I have to behave like a particle.
Is it also not true that if you have instrumentation to measure particles and waves simultaneously, that they simultaneously act as particles and waves?
That's it. Whatever we try to see, that's the way they behave. And this for us means that we create reality. It's us. Yeah? It's not them. Yeah? Which means reality is not something distracted from us, but we have a big impact on reality. Okay? So, then the second experiment is about entanglement. Also auf Deutsch die verschränkten Teilchen. Ja? Entanglement means you take two photons, and these photons, the first experiment here in Austria was we let them travel across the Danube River. Okay? And then we have a look at the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the Danube River. And if you look at the photon at the right-hand side, and this photon has spin in one direction, at the same time the photon on the other side has spin in the other direction. Now, they obviously are connected somehow together, but this connection acts in a way that the information is transmitted faster than the speed of light, which is impossible in our model. Okay? So how do they connect? Let's have a look at this experiment.
Here's an example. We can set up a source to emit electrons in pairs, with their spins dependent on and opposite from one another. Now, neither electron knows what spin state it is in. Both are flip-flopping back and forth between spin up and spin down. But their wave functions are entangled, so that whenever one of the electrons is disturbed and settles into one of the spin states, say spin up, the other electron instantly settles into spin down state. And this instantly occurring collapse happens whether the electrons are next to each other or on the opposite side of the planet.
So, which means that this interaction works on every distance. There is no way which is too far away. Okay? It works simultaneously, faster than the speed of light. Okay? And you can reproduce it. Yeah? And that's very interesting. The first companies which were interested in this were bank institutes. They said, hey, this is a fine way for encrypting data. Because we have these two electrons, they are connected, and as soon as I move the one on this side, the other one has a defined state. Yeah? So I always know whether this one has been touched or not. Yeah? So we have now practical appliances of this phenomena, but we have no idea why it works this way. Yeah? There is no idea. Entangled particles. Entangled particles are found, for instance, in plants. You need it to have these photochemical reactions in plants. This won't work without entangled particles. So we are very glad they are here, but okay. So, do we have entangled particles? We don't know. In case we have, if this particle changes the charge here in my body, yeah, the other one would instantly change the charge in your body. Now, changing the charge means that maybe a cell wall where there was no transmission possible now there is a transmission possible. Maybe that there is a messenger going now through. Maybe at the same moment I experience a feeling, you experience also a feeling. Yeah? Maybe we are all connected. Let's come back to religion. God is in every one of us. Or we are all connected. Are these the entangled particles? Have we found out now a theory? Maybe. You know, as a physicist, we don't talk about religion. Yeah? We also don't talk about that we influence experiments. Because it's very hard, you're in a laboratory, and you say, how is God today? Can I do this experience or not? I mean, it depends on his mood, huh? So we say, no, there is no religion, there is no God. But let us think about, maybe this, what we are just finding out, is already known for thousands of years. Okay? And maybe when we look on this double slit experiment and we say, okay, we define whether this is wave or particle, maybe it's the same as Dalai Lama says, it is dependent creation. Yeah? Depending on our current state, we create the future, we create the reality. Yeah? Okay, so, yeah. Just a little bit more about religion and wonders. You know, we are living in a 3 or 4 dimensional space here. There are some physicists saying we need more dimensions to explain how Big Bang worked out, so let's take 9 dimensions up to 23 dimensions, okay? For nowadays, let's remain in our 4 dimensions. If there are other dimensions, if there are more dimensions, then things we name like miracles or wonders, yeah, could take place here, and we have no explanation for them. In a higher dimension, that's fine. But in our dimension, we have no idea. Okay? Yeah, time. I already told you, the photon can travel in time forward and backward. If we go to quantum physics, we also find out that time is just a dimension like the other dimensions. There is no difference. Okay? So in quantum physics, there is no difference between past and future. For us, there seems to be a big difference because we know a lot about the past. I mean, I think we need, maybe we know. Okay, we know, but we don't know anything about the future. Jakob Lieberman told you the déjà vu effect. We know something about the future. We can travel to future and then back here, okay? But our common understanding is past is very real, future is very unreal. This is not what we say today in physics. In physics we say past and future have the same reality coefficient. Okay? So, here we are, and now we are going to the future. And there is a lot of futures for each of us. Yeah? There is a huge probability space which contains all our possible futures at any moment. And we select. We select by brain, we select, we don't know, unconsciousness, but we select every moment. Okay, and now we are talking about the selection process. And first we have to talk about what do we see? What is our perception? Okay, so I select out of these enormous possibilities of reality at every moment what I'm going to have as a future. And it's me. It's not the other ones. It's me selecting. Okay? So, the information streaming to our body, and now I use the word body and not our eyes, ears, or smell or whatever organs, okay? Because it's the total sum of information. It's about 11 million bits per second. what we really can process is about 20 to 40 bits per second, and what we remember is 1 to 3 bits per second. When I was shown this chart, I told the guy, that's not true. I'm sure I can memorize more. Okay, he did an experiment with me. You know what he did? He showed me one line of characters, but not words, just characters. Okay? He gave me 10 seconds to remember the characters. X, Y, Z, blah. Okay? Try it. You will find out that your process power is limited. Okay? And our processor has no speed up. We are born with this processor and that's it. Okay? Also, your total storage amount is limited, and I tell you, what you can store in your brain is less than you can store in your iPhone. A lot less. So next time you don't remember names, yeah, no problem for you. These 300 megabytes have been reached, and now you have to, yeah. You have to erase areas to be able to store more information. Yeah? That's it. So, how do we reduce this enormous amount? By filters. Okay? Now let's have a look at the function of filters. I have to turn up the volume a little bit, and now this is a concentration exercise. Okay? You concentrate on the movie. Okay, and you tell me afterwards what you have seen.
Hi, Sabina. Hi. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Andrea.
So how did you get here?
I took the subway from Middleton, and it took only about half an hour.
Really? I drove from Gresham, and it took 45 minutes.
Hooray for public transportation.
So why did you call me here for this mysterious meeting?
I'm planning a surprise party for Jerome, and I need your help to keep him away from the house.
That's great. I'll do anything you need.
Good.
I hate surprise parties, but only when I'm the victim. Otherwise, they're great.
Very good.
Other than the strange dialogue about a surprise party, did you notice anything unusual? In our book, The Invisible Gorilla and Other Ways Our Intuitions Deceive Us, we discussed the illusion of memory. We think we perceive and remember more of our world than we actually do. The movie you just watched had 9 intentional editing mistakes. Did you spot any of them? Watch it again. Notice that the woman on the right, Sabrina, is wearing a scarf. In a moment, we'll have a close-up and the scarf will be gone. Notice the scarf is gone, and Andrea, the woman on the left, has her arm on the table. Now it's at her chin. Scarf is back. Notice that the plates are red. Now they're white, and Andrea's arm is back on the table. Now they're red, and Sabrina's arm is off of the table. Notice that the food is in front of Sabrina. Now it's in front of Andrea. The cups and the spoon have also switched places, and Sabrina's arm is on the table when it wasn't before.
Okay? So what you're doing at any moment is you construct a reality out of the past, and you use this causality principle. You won't see anything which couldn't be. So that's the reason why we are blind for some things. Okay? And that's also a reason, at least in Austria, most of us are Catholic. Okay? And the Catholic Church is all-time losing members. So now one of the possibilities to regain members would be very simple. Just provide a wonder. Okay, a miracle. Okay? Yeah. If you provide a miracle, then everyone will join you, okay? But if this miracle is not within your possibility, within the possible reality, you won't see it. So the problem of the church is not to provide a miracle. The problem is to convince you that you are able to see the miracle. Because otherwise you are filtering it. You won't see it, even if it is happening in front of your eyes. Okay? So that's our problem. Yeah? Our problem is that these filters are always on, except when we are sleeping, dreaming, or we are taking drugs. I suggest you take, if you want to experiment, you take the way of dreaming. It's better for your health than taking drugs. When you wake up, you try to put the puzzles of your dream together in a way that they are according to principle of causality, which is hard. Because in your dream, you flipped away from one point to the other, you were big, you were tall, you were small, and now you are awakened and you try to reconstruct. It's very hard, okay? Filters. So what we need to do to shape our own future is first to work on our filters, okay? Remove most of the filters. And one way is praying, the other way is meditation. But you need to be exactly in the state Dr. Lieberman described before, yeah? In the state where everything flowing into you, this amount of information, is slowed down and you're open for other things. So how do we create reality? Reality is created on 3 different levels. The first level is the one we all said, okay, that's fine, we agreed on this level. And this is called the objective level. And the objective level was defined by religion and is now defined by science. Okay? If I tell you now, in the next moment I'm going to fly, we have all agreed on the objective level this won't happen in Vienna. Okay? At least not for me. So reality tells you no. We all agreed upon it. Yeah? This level changes. It has changed a lot in the past. You know, first the Earth was flat, then it was a ball, then it was the center of the universe, then the sun was the center of the universe. Now we are only very far outside of the center of the universe. Okay, we change it. We change it. But who changes it? Only scientists are allowed to change it. Yeah. Please try to change it, okay? You will end up in a hospital. Okay, that's the objective level. Then we have, by the way, Immanuel Kant already, as a philosopher, told the physicist, what you are doing is you are creating the laws of nature. It's not the nature. At this time, we didn't want to hear this. Nowadays, we start to think about, okay? Especially if we get older. If you're a professor emeritus, you might think about. If you're a professor with 35 years, it's better for your career you don't think about. Okay? On the chaotic level, every one of us is influencing reality every day, but as we do it all in a non-directed way, the result is chaos. This evening at 6:00 p.m., 6 million Austrians will influence reality regarding the lotto numbers. Yeah, and the result is chaos. Okay? And then there is our subjective level. This is the level concerning only us. So it's our personal future. And the less other people are interested in our personal future, the higher the probability is that I can change and influence something on this level. So if you want to change and influence your own future, please start on this subjective level. Yeah? Things you care about, but no one else or very few others care about. It's the easiest way or the easiest thing to influence. Okay? And be careful if someone else tells you that's your subjective reality, the next step might be dangerous. And if you still exist, disease, then we have to separate you. Okay? So, let's go back to theory. quantum theory. And at the moment, we have three interpretations of the quantum theory. The first one is Copenhagen interpretation. That's the one Professor Zeilinger used. He said, we look at the photon emitting the laser, and we look again at the photon on the screen. The way in between, we don't look at, we don't talk about, just don't ask me, it's not allowed. Yeah, that's the Copenhagen interpretation. It's used by professors not older than 55 or something like this. Yeah, okay, that's Copenhagen. We say don't ask, don't tell about reality. Okay? The many worlds interpretation is, for instance, shown. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Zurück zur Zukunft? Okay, that's the many world interpretation. There are Marty McFly is in three different worlds on this rock concert. Yeah, one time he's on stage, the other one he's a spectator. Yeah, many worlds in parallel. Yeah. And then the wave function collapses, and one of these worlds is the world I'm living in. Okay, that's the many world interpretation. And then there is a third interpretation, and this is the one I would like to tell you more about. It's the transactional interpretation. And I think we would have Professor John Cramer tell you about this. He states that there is an offering wave and there is a retarding wave, and both are time waves. One is going to the future, one is coming back from the future, and if these waves have the same frequency, they have the highest amplitude, and this is the highest possibility for our future. But I will let him explain.
And if you take a wave function that looks like e to the minus I omega t, which is the usual form, and take its complex times, you get something that looks like e to the plus I omega t. And you can interpret that as being an advanced wave which is going backwards in time, so it carries negative energy backwards in time, rather than a normal wave which carries positive energy forwards in time. So the transactional interpretation takes that seriously based on the ideas of Wheeler and Feynman, who had a classical electrodynamics that worked in more or less the same way. And it envisions that in any quantum mechanical process that transfers mass and energy and momentum and other conserved quantities, that there's a handshake between a retarded wave going from the past to the future and an advanced wave ratifying the transaction, going from the future to the past, shaking hands and arranging for the transfer of energy in much the same way that banks transfer money by sending messages back and forth over the internet.
So how far does this transaction occur? How far apart physically?
It doesn't matter.
Across the universe?
It can happen light years away.
Did you understand? No. Very good. Okay. So, yeah. Otherwise, you would be up on stage and teaching, okay? So, I'm here in the presence. Now I'm emitting time waves. Conjugate complex time waves. Let's forget about this, but time waves. I'm emitting time waves to the past, and I'm emitting time waves to the future, okay, at any moment. Now we go to the future, and again, I'm transmitting a time wave to the past and a time wave to the future. So if the time wave coming from the past to the future and the time wave coming from the future to the past have the same frequency, they go in resonance, which means higher amplitude, which means higher probability of the future. Okay, now you know it. That's it. Start defining your future. So how are we sending out these waves? That's the trick. We are sending them out at any moment, unconsciousness. Yeah? And our goal is to influence what we are sending out. Okay? Each of you is sending it out at the moment. a lot of time waves. Huh? And you also feel it. If someone is entering the room, you feel that this person's, in German we say, hat eine Ausstrahlung. Yeah? Okay, you feel it. So what you have to know is whatever happens here and everywhere on Earth is no coincidence. It's the sum of all these waves. They sum up and they form what is our reality. Okay? So how do we emit these waves? We send them out, and we are the only ones to send them out, which means my future depends primarily on my waves, not on yours, not on everyone else. Okay? Because the others, they just do, let's say, a basic field. But mine are the strongest one for my subjective reality. Okay? If you start now and say, okay, make a simple experiment. I'm Alf, you know Alf, the series Alf? Okay? Okay. What I want for the daughter of the house is I want peace all over the world. That's not a good thing to start with. Because you might have interferences with about 1 billion of other people. Okay? So you start here. A very good example how it works is the placebo effect. You know, when a new medical treatment, at least in Austria, if you want to have a new Arznei, I don't know it in English at the moment. Thank you, medicine, yeah. If you want to have a new medicine, you have to do a double-blind test with 1,000 people. 500 of them get the medicine, 500 of them get a placebo, and they don't know which one gets which. And then after a time period, you check, did it work out or not? When it works out, at least with 340 people, your medicine is accepted in Austria. Do you know how large is the number of people where it works out with the placebo?
350.
300. There is a little bit of difference. It's 300 to 340, but 300 out of 500 are cured just by the doctor telling you, this is a medicine and it will help you. Okay? And the rate is higher when the doctor is wearing a white coat. Yeah. 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 If you appear in jeans, it's not that good. Okay? So first rule for doctors, stethoscope and white coat. Okay? Yeah. But that is your personal reality. That's your subjective reality. That's where it works. And you know why it works? Because you believe. Because you believe. Yeah? And now we are back to this example you gave. If the doctor and the patient are in empathy, they laugh. The doctor, yeah, then you believe more, of course. Yeah? Because he will do you no harm. Contradictory, he will do good for you. Okay? That's it. Yeah? So it works. Now,
the heart generates by far the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field produced in the body. And what we've now found is that if we look at the spectrum analysis of the magnetic field radiated by the heart, that emotional information is actually encoded and modulating into those fields. So by learning to shift our emotions, that's changing the information we're encoding into the magnetic fields radiated by the heart, and that can impact those around us. We are fundamentally and deeply connected with each other and the planet itself, and what we do individually really does count and matters.
okay, so what we are doing is we are sending out these time waves by emotions and by the heart, not by the brain. Okay? It's the heart. It's our feelings. Which means, if you want to influence your future, you have to control your feelings. What are the strongest feelings? Love, fear, anger, hate. Okay, there are a lot of negative feelings, but also joy and love as positive feelings. So I suggest when you start experimenting, you take the positive feelings. Yeah. What do you have to do? In the presence, okay, I have to imagine how will the state be in the future I want to achieve. Okay, the state I would like to achieve. When I entered this room, the state I wanted to achieve is that you are happy after having heard me, after my speech. No? Okay, so I imagine now, I go into the feeling how it would be. You applaud, I'm very happy, thank you very much, perfect. Okay, this is what I have to imagine up front. Then I do my presentation, and then, hopefully, you liked it. Okay? Then I'm in the same state of feeling, which means there is a higher possibility that this will be my future, my reality. Okay? So the problem we have in Vienna is that basically, after an event, in this future state, you have to be in this emotion, which means I have to be grateful. Yeah? Thanks, I liked it. Okay? For the people not living in Vienna, I can tell you it's rather hard to find someone in Vienna who is grateful with a happy face. Normally we say, okay, it worked out, fine, let's proceed to the next step. Okay? That's not good. Because I have to send these time waves here with the same emotion I imagined in the past. Which means we have to remain and to really feel what we would like to have achieved, okay? And now we have achieved it. Huh? So, we start in the presence, and we don't wish something. We just imagine what is the state when we have reached it. If I say, I would like to have a new car, okay? This means my heart, my feelings concentrate on like to have. I have and I enjoy driving the new car, okay? No coincidence. There is no coincidence, you know? Okay. So, I suggest if you try it, if you experiment personally, yeah, you take positive feelings, things where you feel comfortable, because then your emotion is easier to achieve. Yeah? And that's the reason why things might repeat in life. You have been sending out these time waves all the time, and the resonance comes back. And as long as you have not changed sending out these time waves in a certain way, you will always have the same resonance. Yeah? So it starts with my future. And the more intense your feelings are, the higher the possibility is that this is your future reality. And there is no certainty. In quantum physics, there is no certainty. Okay, it's just increasing the possibility. And please don't try it in the Casinos Austria roulette table or something like that. Not a good idea. Okay? This also means that if I am somewhere in the desert and I need water, and now my wish is I'm lying down in the ocean and there is enough water, I won't have enough positive feelings to create this future. Or at least it would be hard if you're not enlightened. Okay, so start with simple things. And that's it. That's what I'm telling now since 5 or 6 years. People all around in Austria. You see here a photo over here in the Executive Academy of the University of Economics, where we try to address managers because they need it very much. They are completely in their brain. There are no feelings. You're only a good manager if there are no feelings. You need your Excel, nothing else. Yeah. And there is an additional factor. Men are far behind. Women are in a very much advanced state because they know to rely on their feelings, which we don't. We need a list, left-hand side, right-hand side, plus. Yeah, that's it. Okay? So you will find the charge on W Spirit Insight AT, and many thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Are there questions on the formulas?
So,
Please.
if I understand what you're saying the process of creation is related to local consciousness. Are you sure?
No, because it's just a possibility.
Do you think the creation has to do, you said a few things. You said you used us or we, and what came immediately is, which we are we speaking about? Are we speaking about this we or some other? That was the first thing. Then the second thing that came, is this creative process, as you said, it has to do with our state. So, is the state where we are actually at, is that something that changes momentarily because my system wants to imagine something else? In other words, is the attractive force where we're at or where we'd like to be? I think these are,
Yeah, these are very important questions. Let me answer the second one first. I use the word state because when you really like to create your reality, it's easier when you are in a meditation state than in your normal state. Yeah? The less information is flooding your brains, the better you can create reality.
very interesting place. When people are in a deep meditative state, they usually don't want anything. They're already there.
Yeah.
So
It's just for the 20 minutes between. Because then you fall down to your normal life, and I really have to say what you told us before. Don't do 20 minutes in one piece, do 20 times 1 minute, which always pushes you up in state and helps you in creating your reality. Yeah? And then the question was, who is creating the reality? Which one of my, is it the ego? Is it my higher self? Okay? And then we start dealing with what am I allowed to do? Because my ego is not behaving well. Okay? My ego is one which says, I want the Porsche. Okay? So, my higher self might say, I want something which helps the population. Yeah? Which is of a higher sense. Yeah? For the physicist, I say it works for both ways. Yeah? But without, in our, say, in this area here, I would say we try to achieve the creation by our higher selves. Yeah? And that's what we need for our patients, that's what we need for the people we are dealing with. Okay? That's the reason of life.
thank you.
Yeah? Bitte.
You were talking about entangled particles, and I've got a couple of questions on those. One is
Okay, it's always pairs, and they are already entangled. If you look at an atomic structure, the electrons in one of the Hüllen, shells, yeah, thank you, they are entangled. So you don't create entangled particles, you just use enough energy to part them from their surroundings.
Okay, so when you're talking about that they're in two different places and still behave the same way, is it always human-made that they're now in two different places?
When we do experiments, it's always human-made. Yeah? These entangled particles we experiment with, they are always human-made. But entangled particles, they appear in nature. In the plants, it's not human-made, they are there. Yeah? And this might be the reason why plants can communicate to each other. Yeah? It takes some time. Now we are finding out why some things work out, and it was known hundreds of years ago. Okay, but we have now an explanation.
I compare in all what you tell about how we create by our thoughts, but what about things we don't know? You know what I mean? Because we don't know. Sometimes, like Jacob told, something flirts with you, you don't know why. And if you follow a new emotion, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't create future conscious, like you told, if you follow inspiration. You know? Because what we are telling is that my wish in my mind creates emotion and feeling and future, and I compare it. It will work in this way. But there is another way we cannot talk about something we don't know, a feeling we don't know, a thought we don't know, something very new coming from future or from wherever. I must be open for this. But to be open for this, I'm not allowed to create a feeling in the future, you know? It's
yeah.
a little bit paradox.
No, it's not. Because it's a very good question. Let's say this possible area is 100%. Okay, what you are creating is only, let's say, 20%, and there is 70% left open for coincidence, or how would you like to call it? Yeah, because there are other people creating, and there are even morphic fields working here.
Yeah, but I must be open.
Yeah, yeah. That's the filters. Yeah.
I must stop creating.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I yeah. To be open is very important. This is why I told you about the filters. Okay. And creation does not mean that I'm 100% fixed that this will happen. Because I'm now in this state of the feeling. Okay. Then I do my presentation, and during the presentation I'm completely open. There is not one thought on the result. Okay? And then, okay, it turned out or it didn't turn out. Yeah? If you always are concentrated at what do I have to create next, it will not work out. It's just for a moment, then you leave it alone and you see what the result will be. Okay?
You have a goal, and you are also open for something better than the goal.
It's not all times better. Yeah. Yeah, different. Okay, it's different. Yeah. There's a huge possibility space, and something will happen. Yeah. And that's the reason why your future is not a straight line. Okay? If you are too far off, then you will be sick. Okay, first here, then there.
But that would be the last question. I'm sorry. We have to cut
Yeah.
short.
This is a question Rosemary asked me to represent her. Her question is, early mythology used animals to identify with. Now we have waveforms. So what waveform is the gorilla and what ringing frequency? Ringing frequency, she said, was like...
Yeah, I think The tool is not important. What we are doing now is I'm telling you a scientific interpretation to help you to imagine. In the past, maybe someone was on stage telling you this is because the sheep I just blooded in this way or that way. Okay? It's to help you to imagine. These are tools for us. Which tool you use is up to you. In fact, everything happens inside of you. Okay?
We have to stop here. Unfortunately, we could go on for a long time, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Ilyen is kis egy külön-külön kvartát, hogy érintjük.